you're working in the emergency department at Northern Beaches Hospital. You've got to be relieved, don't you, that the curve is finally officially flattening?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's the encouraging news that we've been waiting to hear, but it is still only the beginning. And it's been another busy week in news from around the world as researchers continue to try to crack the Covid-19 code. Here's some of the stuff that you need to know.
First up, this week some new light has been shed on how coronavirus differently affects women and men. The bad news is that based on available global data, men are roughly twice as likely to die from SARS-CoV-2 than women. But it doesn't mean that women have it easy. A WHO analysis of 104 countries shows that women represent 70% of the health workforce, a group with highly elevated risks during an infectious pandemic. By now, we all know that fever and a dry cough can signal that you have COVID-19. But recently, there's been growing anecdotal evidence that a loss of smell and taste might also be linked to the disease. Now, those links have been confirmed by a US study published this week, which found loss of smell and taste to be very common among sufferers and quite severe in nature. Enough that doctors should treat it seriously as a potential early sign of infection. As COVID-19 infection rates soar around the world, the life-saving ventilators used in ICUs are increasingly in short supply. In fact, it's possible that millions more ventilators may be needed to cope with outbreaks globally. But Australian researchers have found a world-first method of splitting one life-saving ventilator between two patients, using only commonly available hospital equipment. While the method needs to be further validated, in a life and death situation, it could make a huge difference. And finally, a wonderful story out of France, where this week,
A year to the day after being gutted by fire, the bells of Notre Dame rang once again in solidarity with medical workers on the front lines of the pandemic.
So great to see those scenes out of Notre Dame. And staying with the international situation at the moment, Richie, there's stories out of China today about people becoming reinfected. That sounds like a real worry.
Yeah, I guess what we need to do is we need to make sure we keep everything in perspective. And when it comes to figuring out how viruses or diseases impact our bodies, usually we have a lot of time. The problem with COVID-19 is we're just chasing our tails. We don't fully understand it. So there are potential that you can be reinfected. There's also potential that in a lot of these cases they're what's known as a false positive. So it actually comes down to the test saying that somebody still has the active disease, but what they in fact have is just a remnant or residual viral DNA that's being picked up. So with all of this news, we're continuing to learn more and more each week, so we don't have the full picture just yet.
I'd love to get your take on the government's new contact tracing app that it's selling.
For us in healthcare, I think what we need to do is put ourselves in a position of how do we get out of this place as quickly as we possibly can. And for me, a tracing app, a contact tracing app that means that we can very quickly pinpoint who has the disease, then quarantine the people they've been exposed to, puts us in a position where we can start to get back to normal quickly and not put the health system under that same strain that we were so scared about back when this all started.
Finally, Rochi, you must be so glad to hear that the stockpile of protective masks for health workers has been boosted by something like 60 million.
Yeah, look, I mean, for us, we'll do our job day in and day out, but we like it when we're protected. And I think for most of the health systems around the world, the ones that are succeeding the most are the ones that are protecting their healthcare workers. And the other thing I'm really excited about is potentially less of those sequined ones, which I really don't feel like they're working. And it really does sound like somebody behind me really needs their help. The alarms are going off. I probably should get back to being a doctor.
Rochi, the show must go on. Let them die.
We'll go a different path than that, Tommy. We might just go a different path than letting them die. We appreciate you joining us, Dr. Andrew Rochford. Thanks very much for your insights.
My pleasure. Thanks, guys.
And hopefully that patient is going to be okay. I don't know about all of you, but when you consider where we were 4 weeks ago and where we are now, where the Health Minister has told us today that we have officially got to the point where we are flattening the curve, I've never been happier to be an Australian.
Oh.
I mean, is there any other country in the world you would want to live in than Australia right now?
So what are you thinking, Lise? We all get together, have a big party?
Why not, Tommy?
But you're so right. I mean, yeah, the lucky country tag. I mean, it's been through good management, a bit of good luck, but yeah, wouldn't want to live anywhere else right now, that's for sure.
No. Well, we've got to take a quick break. We'll be back in just a moment.